So today we're talking about how to get you started with Smart Learning Suite Online, and specifically, it's for you all that use Google out here. The way that I'm going to teach you is we're going to see how to create using existing content, how to enhance it using Smart Learning Suite Online, also how we can engage our students, deliver it, and share it on Google Classroom. So I'm hoping you leave this webinar understanding how Smart Learning Suite Online can be used to spark learning, transform content, ignite engagement, and capture insight into learning. I want you to sit back and really be in the moment with me, communicate and interact with us in the chat. Remember that at the end of this, you'll get a recording and also some awesome resources that you can use for the notes. So as you're watching me, pay attention. Any questions that you have about what you're seeing on the screen, let us know in the chat. And if you have ideas of how you might want to use this, also share them in the chat for others to see. So let's jump right in. To create, if you're a Google user, one of the easiest ways to do this is to go to your Google Drive. From your Google Drive, you actually can access Smart Learning Suite Online. So anytime you want to add something new in your drive, you probably press this new button. And we're looking for the Smart Learning Suite Online option and we don't see it. So we're going to click more and then voila, there we go. Smart Learning Suite Online. So again, that's new, more, and then you'll see an option for Smart Learning Suite. When you click that button, it opens Smart Learning Suite for you into a new tab. Know that if you haven't been here before, you may see a screen where you need to sign in. Don't be nervous. There you just sign in and you sign in with your Google credentials. And from here, we have this big green button screaming at us to invite us to create. So we click this green button here with the plus sign to start to add an activity. Then it opens up the Smart Learning Suite Online dashboard. We're going to talk about a lot of these buttons as we go through today's webinar. This first screen allows you to choose what you'd like to start creating. I have something that I've already prepared that I'd like to bring into Smart Learning Suite Online, so I'm going to choose the Import Resource option. I can bring in different types of files and from either my Google Drive or my device. So I have my file saved in my Google Drive, so I'm going to select that option. And this opens up a little mini version of my Google Drive that I can use to locate the file that I'd like to enhance in Smart Learning Suite Online. And once I select it, it is now uploading into Smart Learning Suite Online. I chose a Google slide, but you can put in PDFs, docs, PowerPoints, a lot of different types of files, and add more interactivity and engaging features using Smart Learning Suite Online. So these are the pages that I previously created. In my Google slide, you see they came in perfectly. Know that this is a copy of that lesson, so my original Google slide still remains in my drive untouched. Now I just have a copy within SLSO. So I can use a lot of the features here in the editing mode in SLSO to enhance this lesson. If I'd like to add additional pages, there's a plus sign on the bottom left-hand side. So this lesson that I have has a title page and then it jumps right into content. I'd like to give a transition there and allow the students to think about what we learned prior and give them a bell ring or a do now. So I want to add an additional page. So I click the plus button here and I see that dashboard again where I have many options to choose from for that bell ringer. I'm going to go with a game-based activity. This button here allows me to create games and activities that are aligned to my lesson. They're all templates. They're easy to make. You can make them in under 5 minutes. There's a lot of different options just depending on your objective with your students, whether you need them to be able to sort and differentiate, or you need them to be able to match or answer true and false questions. So as we look at the different options that we have here, there's a preview button that we could click in the corner of each game to give us a better idea of how it works if we're not familiar. Not only do you get a little preview or an example of the game, you also get a description below. So the game that I love to use for my bell ringer is called a monster quiz. A monster quiz is something that students complete in real time. So they're going to compete in real time to answer questions quickly and correctly. And you, as the teacher, get a class data that informs you of so much of what they've mastered, what things you need to review, misconceptions. So it's like giving a quiz, but your students are actually going to enjoy it. So I want to create this activity, so I choose select. Next, I add in the content to align it to my lesson. So know that the majority of the games that you saw, this is the process. You pick the game and then you follow the directions up top and you add your content so that it's aligned. Here, I have the choice between true and false and multiple choice questions. I'm going to do some true and false questions here. So I can either type or copy and paste in text to make this faster. And for the sake of our webinar, I have some questions that I'm going to just go ahead and paste in. So I enter my question, and then here on the bottom, I fill in the circle to indicate which answer is the correct answer. So this is true, so I'm going to leave this one filled in. To add additional questions, there's an add question button right here. I also can change my question type so I don't have to keep all true and false questions. Let's go ahead and paste in our next question. And this one is false. So once I'm done adding in my content, I hit next. And now I can review my content. So here I can make sure everything looks correct. I can change any settings that I have here. So in the monster quiz, I have an option to either allow the questions to come to the students in the order that I put them, or I can turn that off. All right, so you can have it in a random order or you can have it not be random. You also can make it a timed game or you could turn that timing off. And when you do have the timed option up, you get to change how many seconds you would like each question to remain before it changes to the next question. So I'm going to press finish here. And just that quickly, I have a fun bell ringer that's going to give me a lot of information. So I can change this text here if I would like as well. You see that now in between the slides that I brought in, I have an activity. So we've enhanced this lesson by adding in a fun game, and I actually want this to come before this slide. So to order your slides, all you have to do is click and drag. Next, I want to allow them to deepen their understanding a little bit more by giving them visuals and a full explanation of our topic here, which is persuasive writing. And my students love to learn through YouTube videos, and I think that would accomplish that. So I want to add another page, so I select the plus sign, and this time I'm going to add a YouTube video. Asha, is there anything special about YouTube videos and SLSO?
Oh my goodness. YouTube videos and SLSO are so special because they are distraction free. You are able to play the YouTube videos in Smart Learning Suite online without having to worry about commercials or advertisements playing. They also play directly within the lesson itself. So it doesn't open up in a separate tab or window. It's right there in your file, which is super exciting.
Thank you. So again, putting your video and your game and all of these things into one lesson is so powerful so that you have one file with everything you need in it. To add your YouTube video, you just can search for a video and you have a library of videos to choose from. If you already know which video you would like, you could even copy and paste in the URL. But if you're choosing to search and you want to preview the videos, you click the small YouTube symbol here. I'm going to mute that. so that you can see a preview and you can review the video and decide if this is the one that you'd like to add into your lesson. So I am happy with this video, so I'm going to select it and choose add, and it will become another page here in my lesson. After this, I would love to have an opportunity to check for understanding, to make sure that they're making the connections that I'm teaching from this lesson and that they have time to reflect and check for their own understanding as well. So in the plus sign, once again, remember that's what we click every time we want to add another page or another element to the lesson. There's so many options here for check for understanding. For this lesson, I'm choosing to use a graphic organizer. This is under the ready-made resources. The ready-made resources are all elements that you can add into your lesson that you can just click them and add them in, and they're powerful. They're applicable to a lot of things, so you don't even have to change anything. It's going to fit into your lesson. So I'm going to do a graphic organizer. You can see that there's a lot of types. And just like the games that we saw before, it has the magnifying glass here for us to preview. I know I want a Venn diagram, so I'm just going to select it. And I could use this Venn diagram as is, but I also have an option to customize it. So I want to talk about how you can actually edit the pages on the Smart Learning Suite Online. So up top, you'll see a little selector. You see this A and this mountain icon. And these are the controls that we use to edit the pages. So I'd like to put labels in for my Venn diagram. So I'm going to select the A and just click on the page and I can start typing. You see that I can customize my text, make it different colors, different sizes. I also would like to add in a picture. So the A is for our text. This mountain icon here brings us to our different multimedia options. So for our images, we can upload an image from our computer by just selecting select image. So if you have something saved on your computer, you can use that. You also can add in web links, or if you want to search the web here, you can search here and find images. So the images that you're finding here are through a Bing Safe Search, which means everything is going to be school appropriate. You don't have to worry about anything crazy popping up. And it's also copyright free. So when you click on your image that you like, it'll be added to your page. Oops. And we are almost done with this page. I want to point out that I'm able to move these pieces around. And in something like a Venn diagram, that's pretty powerful because we can move things to its correct space. But there's also some parts on this page that I want to stay still. So when you click each item, there's a little menu that you can use to lock it down if you want it to stay still. And if you want it to be a moving interactive piece, you just keep it unlocked. And so for this Venn diagram, I think it's powerful if my students actually have some things in the wrong place, and we're going to work to put them in the correct place. And they can even add some more things to the Venn diagram as we present. So that is the last, nope, actually I have one more element that I want to add in. So as I look through these pages, this slide here is actually an example of my content. So we're talking about persuasive writing here. And this is an example of a writing piece, and it's a nice slide, but I would like to make this more interactive. So in place of this slide, I'm going to add one more smart activity. Remember to add a page, we go where? Bottom left-hand side to that plus sign. Our game-based activities are here. And this time I'm going to use a label reveal. A label reveal allows you to upload images and label them. So it's great for diagrams and different examples as well. So I have a photo of that writing piece here that I'm going to add in, and I'm going to label it. So this first sentence here, We use a writing prompt called Oreo, so I'm just going to put the letters there for the acronyms, and I want them to be able to identify the different parts of this piece. I find this type of label reveal very powerful in a lot of subjects areas. So think of anything that you might have a written example of, think maybe like a math problem. You can write out an example, take a picture of it, upload it into label reveal, and label it with maybe the different steps that you took. So there's a lot of different ways you can use this. You can even add additional information under each label if you would like. Once I'm finished adding my content and aligning this to my lesson, I can press finish, and there we have it. With this activity, I can also preview it so that I can get an idea of what it looks like. I can go back in and edit it if I need, or I can also change this title here. This activity is going to be used to really gradually release my students into their independent assignment, so as a support. One last thing that I think would make it powerful is to add audio. So if I can add audio to this with me kind of explaining the example, my students will be able to use this on their own time to do their work and have some support. On the bottom of the screen, on the left-hand side, is a button here that allows me to add audio. I click it, and for this lesson, I'm just going to give them some quick tips. So to start recording, I hit the start recording button. Quick tip from your teacher here. I'm going to pause it now, and I'm able to play my recording. Oh, I think I have this muted here. Quick tip from your teacher here. So you can make sure that it sounds how you want it to sound. You could continue on recording. You have up to 5 minutes for each page, or you could delete and start over. I'm happy with this, so I'm going to add it. You have this button here available on all the pages, so you can add instructional audio to any one of these pages. It's really awesome. And the last thing that I want to do to this lesson is to make sure we have that engagement factor. So I want to make sure that my students can interact with the pages. Notice that on some pages on the bottom, it says this page is view only on student devices. And that means that they're only going to be able to look at those slides. And for some slides, that's how we need them to be. But for others, we want them to be able to interact and move things around and contribute. So for example, this Venn diagram, I want my students to interact with this. So I'm going to click the magic wand here to convert this page to be interactive and to convert it to an activity. I have two options once I click that button to choose to make this an individual activity or a collaborative activity. And I think it would be awesome to do the Venn diagram together. So I'm going to make it collaborative. We call that a workspace. And I also have the page here where they're going to do their own writing tasks. I want this to be interactive and I want each student to have their own copy. So I'm going to make it a handout by choosing the option up top. To clean up this lesson, I can also delete any pages that I no longer need. So I no longer need this example here. So I have the trash can button that I can use to delete. And that's really powerful when you think of PDFs, because usually when you have a PDF, you can't choose which pages you're going to use. So here, if you upload a PDF into Smart Learning Suite Online, you could delete any pages that you don't need. And to finish it off, I'm going to title it. On the upper left-hand corner is where you can write your title and press finish editing. So now I have my lesson here. We can see that it's saved on Smart Learning Suite Online. But I want to take us back to my drive so that you can see it's also saved here in Google Drive. So that means all the things that you're used to doing in your drive, you can do here with this lesson. So for instance, as we right click, if you know how to share or use that button, you can use that button to share the lesson with colleagues so they can have their own copy as well. If you want to organize your files, you can move it and organize it. And when you're ready to open it up, you just click on it and choose Open with Smart Learning Suite Online. Mm-mm. Let's try that again. Maybe I need to close this.
The Google integration feature is such an awesome one, Akia. I mean, the fact that, the Smart Learning Suite file works the same way as the other files that you're already used to using in your drive is really nice.
Yeah, I think it makes a big difference also for team collaboration. If you guys
Mm-hmm.
have shared folders, everyone can just put lessons in there and work together. So now that we have our lesson open, let's make sure we understand how we can actually deliver this out to our students. So you have two options, and the first option is to sync them to your live presentation. And you do that using a class code. It's really awesome. It allows the students to view any Smart Learning Suite online presentation that you bring up during that time. And not only can they view it, they can interact since it's a Smart Learning Suite online lesson, but you'll have different teacher controls that are only available when you're in a live lesson. So here during the left-hand side of this page, I'm going to walk you through some of the features that are available when you present. So up top, you have a user menu that you can click. Looks kind of like three lines or a hamburger maybe. And you can see your account there where you can edit. You can end the lesson. You can go straight into editing the lesson and come right back in. So if you need to make a quick edit, you can share your lesson. So you can share your lesson multiple ways. We saw how you could do it in your draft, but also through your user menu, you can get a link that you can share with either teachers or students. You can make a copy of your lesson, which if you work with multiple groups of students, it's awesome to make a copy for each class. So maybe period one, period two, because the information that the student enters into this lesson is going to be saved. So you can make a copy. You can also access training resources here, help, and request a feature. Underneath our user menu, we have our class panel. So it's represented by these two little people here. When you click on it up top, you see the name of your class. You also see your class ID. Each teacher has a class ID that's unique to them that, again, they give to their students when they want them to interact live. So you don't even have to remember the steps to know what to tell your students to do. If you click this arrow, the steps come up here, and it tells the students that they can join your class by going to hellosmart.com and entering your class ID. We have this lesson pacing option. So currently I'm in teacher pacing, and I can show you what that means. I actually have a student view up. So I've signed in as a student over here. Let me try to pull that up. So here on the left-hand side of my screen, I'm a student. I might need to refresh that. And here on the right-hand side, I am a teacher. So since I'm in the class, again, as I change my slides, the student slide is changing. So that's what I mean by teacher pacing. We also have an option that's for student pacing. So throughout a lesson, you can switch from teacher pacing to student pacing and back and forth. I also can see all the students that are a part of my class. And I even can edit the students if I need to remove students, if they might have forgotten to remove themselves. And that is your class panel. Next, you have these options here that allow you to interact with the page. So the pages that you upload in here, if there were any moving pieces, you can use the selector to move things around. This pen tool here is your digital ink that you can use to write on your slides. So you didn't have to do anything to make that come in. Your slides, when you present them in Smart Learning Suite Online, will come with this digital ink tool. So if I want to bring attention to certain words, I could highlight them. I could use the pen. There's also a highlighter there. And I want you to see that this also shows up live on the student screen. So as I'm doing different markings, The students will also see that show up on their screen. So I have the pen, I have an eraser as well, and then there's this circle here that I can use to reset the page and clean everything up. Working my way down here, there's also an instant page button, so I can instantly add in a few things that are great for those teachable moments or impromptu, unplanned moments that happen in teaching. So maybe I need a space to explain an idea and to use that ink, but just in a blank canvas. I can add in a whiteboard instantly as I do things and maybe solve a problem, draw things out. With my plus sign here, I also can instantly add a shout it out activity, which this would be an activity that you would use for maybe brainstorming or just posing a question. It allows you to ask your students a question, maybe related to your lesson, or maybe it's a post check. So, how are you doing today? And they'll use their devices to respond, and it pops up here on the screen. As you can see, some of my students are sending us messages. And now I want to show you two of the pages that we turned into interactive um, elements. So I want to show you what the handout and the workspace looks like. So our Venn diagram, we turned this into a collaborative activity, or also known as a workspace. And as the teacher, I'm going to set this up by splitting the students up into teams. I can do small teams, or I could put everyone in one group. I'm going to put us all in one group to fill this out. And I am able to, move things around, and we're all in one team. So they're actually able to add into this Venn diagram. So my students now have access to tools here on the left-hand side. So let me pull up my student view so that you can see. So here, the students have all the tools that I saw. They have this pointer here that they can use to select. They have this marker here. They have an eraser. They can add in images. So from their device or from the web. They also can add in text. So we all can have this space here and collaborate, and you're seeing things pop in because remember I put everyone all in one space. So these are the rest of my students adding in to our workspace. And as the teacher, I'm actually able to click in and we're able to see who contributed what into the class. So I can see by clicking the arrow who added in, who's participating, and we can have a nice collaborative experience here. So again, you could do workspaces whole class, or you could break them up into small groups. Next, I want you to see the handout feature. So for a handout, remember this gives each student their own copy. And I'm going to switch this back to teacher pacing to bring everybody to the same slide. So with this handout, when I click student progress, the teacher is actually going to be able to see the students as they start their work. So I can see that Ryan and Diane has started their handout. So as the student press starts, it pops up here on my screen. And I also can click into their lessons and see them add work lab. So right now, Diane's just now getting started is empty. I can see as Diane adds, but I also can leave messages as well. So I can in real time give her feedback. So maybe I want to add a sticker. So I can click on Diane's. I can toggle through using this arrow and check on my other students. Nice, Ryan. So you get so much, again, real-time information so that you can inform your learning and your lessons. So the last thing I want you to see is also how to share in Google Classroom. So this nice interactive lesson, when we have our students enter our class code, they'll have it live. But if we want them to have the lesson available to them anytime, we want to give them their own copy that they can access before school, after school, during class, whenever. We're going to post it on to Google Classroom. So to do that, you go to your classroom and you do all the steps that you're accustomed doing when you create any other assignment. So I'm going to press create assignment, I title it, give them some instructions maybe. You can also, do any of the changes you're accustomed to doing here on the right-hand side. And when it comes to adding in your lesson, you just select add. And remember that your Smart Learning Suite Online lesson is in your Google Drive. So you can just click Google Drive. And from here, you can attach your lesson and it's here. So one thing that might be a little different than what you're used to is you do not have to change the setting in order for your students to have their own copy. You keep this as students give you file, and Smart Learning Suite Online files are smart enough to know to give each student their own copy automatically. So you just press assign and the students are able to go in and access the lesson. So, Asha, are there any questions that were coming out of the chat that I could demonstrate or show, or anything that you would like to show maybe from the dashboard that wasn't shown?
Actually, no, there aren't any questions that have come in as of yet.
All right. Well, guys, don't hold back. If you have any questions, put them in the chat. If you're excited, let us know in the chat. We are here. I'm going to take us back to our original presentation to close us out for our webinar.
Oh, you're getting some feedback about how great this was, Akia.
Oh, thanks, guys. Had a lot of fun creating it. Took me back to my teacher days. So again, I hope you see how you can use Smart Learning Suite Online to take the things that you already have created and add these engaging elements and enhance them using Smart Learning Suite Online so that you have one file, one lesson that has everything that you need, and the fact that you have multiple options of how you can deliver it. So we have these resources available to you. Asha's going to drop them in the chat. They're here so that you have support as you're implementing this. So please try this out and don't feel like you're on your own island. Under Let's Connect, you see there's an email there that you can email us if you have any questions on understanding how it works instructionally, or if there's something you want to create but you just can't figure out how to do it. You need how-to information, you need help, reach out to us. Also, our social media communities are great places to connect with other teachers that's using the software as well. So on Twitter, we're at SmartPLN, Facebook, Smart Technologies, and Instagram, Smart_Technologies. So these resources here, everywhere that you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all of these are links. So when the link is dropped to you, you just click on these links and it takes you to different types of resources that you can use to learn, from webinars to written step guides and manuals, things like that. So again, try it out. I challenge you all to take something you already have and add it into Smart Learning Suite Online. Try to convert a page to a handout so that each student could get their own copy and they have those awesome editing features where they can add pictures and text. Also, add a game to your lesson and try one of the ready-made templates such as a graphic organizers, but there's a lot of other options there for you to explore.